Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to everybody to the conversation with Widlore Mérancourt about Haiti. Thank you for being here, either in person or remotely. I am Jorge Marturano, Director of the Program on Caribbean Studies of the Latin American Institute at UCLA, and I will introduce in the event, and then my dear friend and colleague, Professor Robin Derby, will introduce the other participants. But first, as we usually do for all the events at the International Institute, and the Latin American Institute is one of its units, we like to begin reminding that we are occupying territories that we have received as a result of being a land-grant institution. And then it is important to recognize its original owners. So officially, I read the land acknowledgement. The program on Caribbean Studies and the Latin American Institute at UCLA acknowledge our presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Gabrielino Tonga people. We also want to thank the people, units, and institutions that made this event possible. So, especially my thanks go to Professor Amy Willens from UC Irvine, who brought Widlore to a conference at Irvine, to Professor Richard Turits at William and Mary, and the different units co-sponsoring the event. Global Study, African Studies, and Latin American Studies from William and Mary. And to Professor Laurent Dubois from University of Virginia, who graciously agreed to lead the conversation, and of course to Professor Robin Derby and the History Department at UCLA, and to the Latin American Institute, and especially to its Assistant Director, Brian Pitts, and its Program Coordinator, Ari Barrera, and to Marcelo Jatova for all they are helping organizing the event. And of course, especially my thanks to Widlore Mérancourt for coming to UCLA and bring your profound knowledge and life experience about the Haitian situation today. We are all joining me to welcome you at UCLA, Widlore. So thank you for being here. Please, Robin, if you don't mind, take it from here.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jorge. So I'm going to introduce Laurent, who's doing the Q&A for this event, and then Laurent will be introducing our speaker, Widlore. Our discussant for today is Laurent Dubois, a leading scholar of the Haitian Revolution, who's currently director of the Karsh Center for Democracy at Duke University. His publication record, which is a lot, includes Avengers of the New World, A Colony of Citizens, Revolution, and Slave Emancipation in the French Caribbean, 1787 to 1804, which won 4 book prizes, including the Frederick Douglass Prize, as well as A Colony of Citizens, Revolution, and Slave Emancipation in the French Caribbean. An Enslaved Enlightenment, Rethinking the Intellectual History of the French Atlantic, Soccer Empire, The World Cup and the Future of France, Haiti, the Aftershocks of History, the Banjo, America's African Instrument, and Freedom Roots, Histories from the Caribbean, which is co-authored with Richard Turk. And now I will hand the baton to Laurent.
Well, thank you all so much for inviting me to be part of this important conversation and for organizing it. And especially Widlore, thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. Widlore Mérancourt is one of the most important journalists reporting from Haiti, deeply knowledgeable and also incredibly important for his work as the editor-in-chief of Aibo Post, which is a publication that if you do not read, I urge you to read. Studied at the Université Publique du Sud au CAI in Haiti, and then at the University of Lille in France. He also writes for the Washington Post as well as Aibo Post. He was named in 2016 the Haitian Young Journalist of the Year by the International Organization of la Francophonie, and has great admiration and following among those of us who are trying to understand and grapple with the situation in Haiti. So thank you for being with us today, Widlore. What we're going to do is I'm going to open with some very brief kind of situating comments on the situation in Haiti and how we might think about it, and then we'll move into Q&A and a conversation for about 30 minutes, and then we'll open for your questions. You'll be sharing your questions if you're on the Zoom through the Q&A function, and then we'll be kind of sort of proposing them to Widlore. There's obviously many different angles and many different ways of thinking about the current political and social and economic crisis in Haiti, which has many overlapping issues, tied, of course, also to the United States policies, to questions of migration, and many others on a larger scale. I'm a historian, so of course we can think at many different levels about what is happening. There is obviously a very long-standing set of conflicts within Haiti, one that Michel Rouve-Trudeau years ago described as kind of state against nation, a set of conflicts about the relationship of this state to the population and the state to external actors. And we're seeing a kind of very, very intense version of that crisis today. We might think in terms of Jean Casimir's formulation of a conflict between plantation and counter-plantation and different visions of autonomy for Haitians. And then, of course, a long story of forces outside that have weakened the Haitian state, from the indemnity in 1825, U.S. occupation, and obviously the long-term impacts of something like the Duvalier dictatorship. More condensed time frame, we've been in a phase, I would say, since the overthrow of Duvalier in 1986, of a series of kind of overlapping political crises and a struggle to kind of establish and ground a democratic process in Haiti. The constitution that is in effect today, and one that we may talk about and sort of shapes a lot of the political crisis, was established in the wake of that overthrow in 1986, 1987. The election of Jean-Bertrand Aristide in 1990, followed by a coup shortly afterwards, and then a U.S. intervention in 1994, was the beginning of the beginning of many decades of not completely consistent but relatively constant foreign occupation. The longest of which was the MINUSTA UN mission that began in 2004 and through 2017. And that interim was also, of course, shaped by the Haiti earthquake in 2010 and its long aftermath in the country. So on the political level, we have, since the election of René Préval in 2006, there were a series of transfers of power, which, while having many difficulties and problems, nevertheless took place without major violence. So from Préval to Martelly in 2011, and then Michel Martelly to Jovenel Moïse in 2017. Again, after elections that we can debate how kind of successful they were, but nevertheless that happened in both those cases, which I think was a promising direction. But the assassination of Jovenel Moïse in July 2021 has kind of began a deepening crisis over the last several years, in which armed groups have taken control of large sections of Port-au-Prince and other parts of the country, and increasingly shape daily lives and daily horizons for many Haitians across the country. There have been a series of debates about foreign intervention and calls for foreign intervention. At this time, there is a small force mainly of Kenyans, as well as soldiers from a few other countries, that is operating in the country. Something we can also discuss, but obviously on a scale that is much smaller than the ones that we had seen previously. And it seems like there's a larger change in the kind of broader approach to Haiti in the international community as well. So tonight is an opportunity for us to think about all this with its layers and complexities. Widlore, I was wondering if I could actually start with a question of terminology, because I know most journalists talk about gangs in Haiti when referring to groups. I know you use that term as well sometimes in your writing. I know others suggest maybe we should think of other terms. There's obviously the term base, which some people use for these. There's maybe terms that the groups use themselves. And I kind of wonder if you could tell us a little bit, like, what is the best way to think about these organizations, these groups, these gangs, if we want to call them that, and what are kind of the main characteristics that would define them in the present, so that we can think about really what is it that we're talking about. Does that make sense as a question?
There is no stupid questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Dubois, and thanks to Amy, Robin, and Jorge for the invitation. I'm quite pleased and honored to be here. For the technologists who thought technology would help solve all the problems, I'm quite confused. I don't know who I'm addressing. Am I addressing you guys in the room? Or am I speaking to the small camera in front of me, or am I speaking to some screen?
All of the above, yeah.
Well, I think before we delve into definitions, before we talk about, you know, how can we define the gangs today, what parallel can we draw from the past, because this insecurity that we are living today in Haiti is not a new phenomena. Anyone who studies history will quickly realize that over the past decades, we've had in different instances and in different forms this type of gang violence. I think for those who don't know Haiti, it would probably be beneficial. I don't know, you tell me. Priority to those in the room. I think it would be beneficial to set the scene so people understand what we mean when we talk about gang violence in Haiti and its impacts over the country. And then we can obviously address the question about terminology. I think a good way to start is my journey to come here today. I left Port-au-Prince on Sunday, last Sunday, and the day before, in my neighborhood, I encountered two young boys being pressured by vigilantes. They thought they were gang leaders, and they were questioning them, asking questions like, "Who are you? Where are you coming from?" I'm talking about two young boys of 14 and 11 years old. And at some point, they asked them, "Do you guys have a phone number so we could call and verify your story?" Nobody wanted to call, and I used my own phone and I called, and I was able to verify the story. Upon me verifying the alibi, the vigilantes, you know, left, and I actually witnessed the pressure of these young boys were under, and the fact that the threat of violence was prevalent, was you know, even urgent, because these folks, many of them were armed with guns. And I do think this episode is can help understand the general atmosphere of fear around Port-au-Prince, which is the capital of Haiti today, and also the fact that this fear is expanding outside of the capital, you know, and in other part of the country. Today, close to 80 up to 85% of the Haitian capital, which is the center for the economy and also the most important political place in Haiti, is controlled by the gangs. The two main roads, you know, that leads to Port-au-Prince are controlled by armed groups. That means if you want to use these roads, you have to interact and negotiate with the gangs. That means the brave people will, you know, at the risk of their lives, try to use these roads, might, in a random basis, be shot at and kidnapped by the gangs. We are talking about 2,600 people killed by the gangs last year. And this violence is also expanding outside of the Haitian capital. We hear, for instance, about the Artibonite department, which is another big department in Haiti, increasingly having to deal with the high level prevalence of violence today. So these gangs, they are extremely vicious. They are violent. They don't have respect for human rights and human dignity. They kidnap people when they come to neighborhoods. They conduct mass rapes. They burn down houses, and they destroyed properties, right? The last road people use to come in and out of Port-au-Prince, using these roads to bring their crops from the countryside, especially south, to the capital. And also, because Haiti is so heavily dependent on importations, bring stuff from the capital to the outside of the country. A week before I leave on Sunday, the gangs attacked this route in Kenskoff. This road leads you to the southwest part of the country, meaning I left on Sunday, and the day after, the gangs attacked the same road that I used, and dozens of peasants, peaceful people living in the area, were killed, and hundreds of houses were burned down by the gangs. This road is important because it's the last like road you can use to come in and out of the capital after the gangs shot at planes sometimes at the end of last year, making the most important international airport in Port-au-Prince, the capital, I mean, it's shut down, basically. FAA, the federal entity responsible for aviation in the US, forbid any planes coming from the US to land there. And the only airport we have, international airport we have today working in Haiti, is a Cap Haitian airport. So normally, in normal times, to come here, I would just take a plane from Port-au-Prince up to, I don't know, could be New York or Miami. But instead, I had to take a motorcycle, use this road that is now increasingly under pressure from the gangs, to head southwest of the country, sleep there, and then take another car, to take another motorcycle, reach Lekai, and sleep there. That's the second day, and then take take a plane from Lekai up to Cap Haitian, which is in the north of the country, and then leave the country to Miami. That's how difficult actually it is to leave Haiti, but it shows also how the civilians, the normal regular folks, are under a lot of pressure from this gang violence problem. As I said before, it's not a new phenomena. We've had this, for several years, and I'm going to end here. In the past 2 to 3 years, the United States and Canada, its partner, sanctioned more than 30 Haitian elites. We are talking about the former president Michel Martelly, his former prime minister, Laurent Lamothe. We have in this group several high-profile business leaders and politicians sanctioned because of several reasons. In the list, you can see drug trafficking, you see ties to gang members, you see corruption. And I do think historically, at least in the past decades, the gang problem is intertwined with the political elites and also the business elite in Haiti. We've seen how over the years they use what you, Mr. Dubois, called bars in slums and impoverished areas in the capital to advance their own causes, to advance their own political causes, and often to, to gain dominance in the economic sector. And over time, these gangs morphed into a giant monster that is now up to eat almost practically everyone. Well, except those who in the elites still have ties to them.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Yeah, and I think that's so your sense is that that these have kind of perhaps taken over or taken advantage of maybe other existent forms, but then have become maybe in some ways a somewhat new form than we've seen before. Is that right? Or in the sense of, I guess partly the question is there is what the relationship is between particular gangs and particular neighborhoods, or has that essentially been eliminated at this point where the gangs are kind of just reproducing themselves to their own ends? Does that make sense?
Well, we we have about 500 gangs in Haiti.
Mhm.
You
Okay.
know, these are different groups with different interests. Over the past few years, one big coalition emerged from the pile. It's called the G9 family. It's led by a former police officer. His name is Jimmy Cherizier, nicknamed Barbecue. And his coalition has different characteristics. Of course, it is suspected to have ties to drug trafficking, but at the same time, they have a political discourse, and they are explaining all over social media and to anyone who wants to listen that they want to start a revolution in Haiti and liberate the people from the corrupt business folks and the corrupt politicians. However, these characteristics or these claims, whenever you try to scrutinize them, they fall apart
Mhm.
for one main reason. It's because if you look at the more than 1 million people displaced by gang violence in the past 3 to 4 years, these are impoverished people from the very slums, from the very neighborhoods that they are trying, or they claim they are trying to help. So these are different groups, of course, depending on the neighborhood, depending on the department, even, you will see um, a different group doing different things. And actually, the economic model of the games as well are different. Some
Mhm.
accumulate capital and money from kidnapping primarily. Others will accumulate money and capital, for instance, from extortion of businesses, extortion of, all sorts of entities. And more, we are also seeing and seeing different reports credibly linking the gang violence in Haiti with drug trafficking, around the Latin America and the Caribbean.
Mhm. Can you tell me a little bit about the gun, like the kind of supply of guns and weaponry? Like how is that related to the drug trade? Or because you're obviously seeing just an incredible presence of a very high grade, weaponry, and I'm more curious if there's a sense of the sources of those or how that's coming into the country.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is an important question because most Americans, in my opinion, are oblivious to the impacts of internal policies, to the impacts of internal decisions and dynamics inside of the US. And when it comes to countries in Latin America, in the Caribbean, and when it comes to discussing Haiti specifically, the vast majority of guns retrieved in gang violence in Haiti today comes from the US. And this is not coming from some, I don't know, left-wing anti-imperialist institution. It's coming straight from the State Department, the Justice Department reports that shows years after year, years after years, guns retrieved from gang violence, from criminal activities in Haiti comes from the US. And I would stress that it's not just the US. More than 70% of guns retrieving criminal activities in Mexico also comes from the US. So gangs are using and benefiting from the lack of control when it comes to guns inside of the U.S. And guns policies. This have a lot of impact when it comes to violence. And I do think it's an important point, because often when we publish pieces about Haiti, people are often you see racist remarks like, this place is doomed, and many people don't understand the the violence we've observed in Haiti in the past decades, the high level uh, of criminality would not be possible if it was not for high caliber machine guns coming from the US. It would not be possible. Impossible, right? So many people don't understand this fact. According to the most recent report I've seen, we have up to 500,000 guns in Haiti. Most of them came to the country illegally. And this is a problem internally. I have to, put responsibility when it comes to the Haitian government's capacities to regulate its own border, but it's also because of the merchandises leaving the U.S. are not necessarily screened enough. You cannot well, Haitian law forbids you to import, for instance, machine guns, and for other guns, you have to have a permit to do that, right? But in the past decade, what we've observed is it's like open border with no control whatsoever. And many folks in Haiti are asking the United States of America to understand the immigration crisis that we are seeing over the years is fueled by gang violence. Why the businesses are closing, why the kidnappings is rising, why the place, the Port-au-Prince especially, seems increasingly like a hellscape is also it's primarily because of these guns. Stop of guns, and many things will change. And if I may add one last point to this description is insecurity is always situated, and in Haiti, what makes us different than other countries in the region, including the Caribbean region or Latin America, is the fact that over the past 5 to 6 years, I've seen the tally of an entity controlling and studying guns is the appetite for gangs members in Haiti to import high calibers. In other countries, they import handguns because you have to in some way hide these equipments. But in Haiti, because many gangs actually seized territories, and these territories escapes the controls of the state. That means they have to hide, and they also want high caliber guns to make a lot of damages. And these damages are not just closing, shutting down businesses, but it's also changing the practice of medicines in Haiti. In the past, I don't know, 2 3 decades, when you were dealing with petty theft and criminals having handguns, the way that you treat people is not the same as today when these people are carrying AK-47. The doctors are seeing a level of injury and a level of one wound that they haven't seen before.
I was thinking too, of course, since 1981, at least the US has heavily policed the waters around Haiti searching for migrants, right? Has created a zone of interdiction and tried to sort of stop migrants. Um, and it would seem that that same technique could be used perhaps to stop guns going into Haiti, right? That if the same assiduousness was used, that would be, and it sounds like, I mean, you're saying that that would probably be very transformative if the supply of guns, and I assume also ammunition, has to be brought in to sustain. So that access is really so. I think I have so many other questions. I may add some more. Maybe just let me ask one, and then I'll turn to my colleague Richard Turits, who would like to ask one or two questions. Then we'll, for those of you on Zoom, please feel free to begin adding questions in the Q&A, and we'll bring them into the queue. And this last question maybe is a hard one, but I was just curious if there was one thing that you feel like people in the US are really missing from the usual media portrayal, or either a set of actors or a particular phenomenon that you think is very important and yet is not being made present. Is there one thing like that that you would share?
Uh, uh, I'd say more than one thing. Again, I say it's very important for people to understand most Americans are oblivious to the impacts of internal policies, of their country's policies around the world, but also in Haiti. La Right after the earthquake, we had an election, and the president elected was Michel Martelly. Michel Martelly is a singer. He was considered to be a colorful individual, not serious, certainly not serious to be president. He was not supposed to be in the second round of the presidency, but the US threatened Haitian authorities so they can put him on the second round, and he went on to be elected as president of Haiti. A few years later, the United Nations put out a report explaining how during his term, Michel Martelly used he used gangs and distributed, ammunition and guns in different neighborhoods so he could advance his own interests. And according to many experts studying and living in studying the gang issue and living in Haiti, at least if you want to understand the total breakdown of the social fabric today in Haiti, this general sense of insecurity, you at least would have to go back to this presidency, the Michel Martelly presidency. It's very important for people to understand. US policies have an impact. Internal discourse and internal decisions and capacities all plays a role, but you have to take this as well into account. When it comes to the border Haiti story, I do think Shimamanda Adichie Ngozi, the Nigerian author, is right when she talks about the single story, and I do think it applies very well to Haiti. For years, the story we've been told about Haiti is one of corruption and gang violence and chaos and catastrophe. But I do think it dismisses the full humanity of Haitians. I do think whoever goes to, reach Haiti today will see a brown people who, despite the challenges of the day, trying to get by and live. They will go to University City Quisqueya, for instance, and see scientists raising and creating crops that are climate change resistant and that are providing for the needs of people and farmers all over the country. They will see Haitian doctors. I know we have one of the highest level of brain drain all over the region, but we have hundreds of Haitian doctors refusing to leave their own country and sometimes, putting themselves and their lives on the line to go out and treat their own patients. They will see after the 2010 earthquake, there was a flood of international organizations with foreigners all over Haiti, helping and etc. But today, actually, as Haiti is going through another cycle of high level of violence, primarily it's Haitians helping Haitians, it's Haitian doctors, it's Haitian teachers, it's, and you can see that all over the country. People don't understand the the creativity and glory, frankly, of Haitian culture. Google Haitian artists, painters, you will see them in France and in the US and all over the world. And they have something to say about the state of a world. They have something to say about the state of their own country. And I would argue many of the responses we are looking for today about the world we're living can be found in Haiti. Whether you're discussing reparation, what justice means, for instance, if you go back to the 1825 ransom that Haiti had to pay, you can link that to climate change today, right? What it means to right the wrongs, what it means to address past inequities, what it means to understand that the present is never just present. It's also the past. And if we are ever to address the present effectively, we cannot forget what happened before that explains this present. And I do think, culture-wise, in literature, painting, and community buildings, on our course and rush to depict the Haitian people as or the Haiti as a country, as a place ridden by gangs, bullets, and corruption, etc., we miss the full picture humanity.
Thank you. That's really beautifully put. And I was at a conference this past weekend in Rice University on Haiti and the world, and that was a theme very much brought up. And people may know that there's an exhibit of Haitian art right now at the National Gallery, and as one way to see that for those who are interested. But yeah, I think and to think from and with Haiti about the future of our world seems like one of the most urgent things. And so I appreciate that opening and invitation. Richard, I know you had maybe one or two questions, and again, I know there's at least one in the Q&A, but please put more if you'd like, and maybe I'll ask you all in the room at UCLA to call on anyone in the room there as well. Okay, so we can.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. That was really illuminating and helpful. I'm wondering, I mean, you did talk a bit about the business elites' dependence on the gangs and their use of it. I'm wondering if you could talk, first question, any more about the economic dimensions of gangs, and maybe even historically. I mean, with the poverty of Haiti, the poverty of the state in particular, with the decline, Haiti's economic decline in the 20th century, with NGOs taking over so much of the state, the republic of NGOs, so the state is even weaker and poorer, and how perhaps that has made the state depend on gangs in a way, whereas the state, Aristide using the gangs and then being eaten by the gangs he helped make, perhaps, but dependent on them, they're kind of a cheap form of repression, inexpensive. Duvalier used it as well because they can get their own means. So I'm wondering, how much what are the economic dimensions that you see? And people, of course, are more, in a bad economic situation, are more dependent on gangs. There are 500 gangs you mentioned. I wonder how many people are in those gangs, they're being recruited. So the economic dimensions and sort of the dependence of different groups in a way on these gangs is my first question. And then second, I guess, I may be missing, I am missing the obvious, but, what is the end goal of the gangs, of the bands? Say it's not political, but to take over, is the end goal to take over more and more of Haiti? To what end? Why do they need to take over more and more areas for the drug cartels? to replace the sort of republic of NGOs with a republic of gangs. I'm still not quite sure I fully understand the motives and the end game of the growing gangs. So the two questions: the economic, more on the economic dimensions of gangs, and then what their end game is.
Okay, thank you for that question. I'm quite happy we have Mr. Dubois on the call, and he can address the historical perspective when it comes to the history, the economic history, and how this is tied. This has ties to violence all over the country. But what I would say is it's quite clear now that after the revolution, the state was captured by elites of different kinds. I know it's a simplistic way of seeing it, but actually it gives you the big picture. And we haven't built in Haiti over time a state with one goal, which is to serve the people and serve the public. And if you look at the economic composition, if you look at what happened in the country in the past decades, what you will quickly understand is, on one side, you have a political system that doesn't have the interest of the people in mind.
It looks like your audio went out, Widlore.
All right, thank you. What was the last thing you've heard?
In control, the state is in control of the elites, I think, and the state versus nation.
Yeah, state. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a state that is built against the nation, a state that is not advancing the interests of the nation, a state that does not have the public interest in mind. And if you look at the past decades, if you look at the economic composition of Haiti, what you will quickly realize is, in many ways, the political system and its actors have ties to the economic system, and they are advancing, on lockstep towards their own interests. When people want political positions in Haiti, actually political positions in Haiti mostly distributed because, not because of ideology, not because people are going to advance a certain idea of what the society should be, but because it's, first of all, unemployment. It's, second of all, a way to enrich oneself with contracts and all sorts of nefarious ways to capture state money. But the economic sector also has a vying interest in controlling the Haitian state and institutions. Let me give you one example. The vast majority of things consumed in Haiti are imported. I've seen numbers up to 70%. These are outdated, so I would not use them. But it gives you an idea as to how importation is important. We import rice, cement, all sorts of things that we need to consume inside of the country. But over the years, what we've observed is people want to control customs, politicians and business people alike. And we understand over time that actually why they want these institutions is clear. It's because they don't want to play by the rules. If you control customs, if you control what we call in Creole la douane, you practically can enrich yourself. You practically can, all right, I'm going to import water, not probably water, but I'm going to import rice. And nobody else can import rice. If someone tried to import rice, I'm going to use my contacts in customs to impose a fee that is so high that they are discouraged, and I can keep a monopoly. And so many strands of the economy, so many sectors of the economy in Haiti are like that. You have this coalition of business people and also folks in the political sector using these corrupt means to enrich themselves at the expense of the public. Let me exhibit one of what I'm trying to describe. Over last year, we've established in Haiti what we call a presidential council. This presidential council is supposed, after the assassination of the president back in 2021, to bring the country to some sense of normalcy. We have 0 elected officials today in Haiti because the former president was killed in the intimacy of his bedroom in the 7th of July 2021, did not organize elections. We can discuss why, but he failed to organize elections, and today 0 elected officials in function in Haiti. This council, established last year with the help of CARICOM, but under the leadership of the United States, this council has 7 voting members, and 3 of them are already implicated in a high-level case of corruption. They allegedly tried to pressure a bank leader to give them money so they can renew the term of this, bank director. Actually, they refused to resign. They refused to resign because it's an allegation, but actually folks close to them, when we try to ask, understand why, they also say, if someone in the US can be charged for and found liable for, I'm going to try to be specific and accurate here, liable for sexual abuse, and this person can run for office. And if this person can also at the same time be elected while being convicted as a felon, so why should we resign? I mean, it says something about the impacts and also the sway that the United States has over Haiti, but it says something also about the larger political system and its ties to the business sector in Haiti. It's a lot of corruption, and most of it is not to advance the public interest, but to enrich oneself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would just say, I mean, I'm thinking that this is part of the very long pattern, right? That again, that of the way in which from the 19th century on, elites have sort of captured the points of exit and entrance, right? And in some ways, the gang kind of control of the roads in and out of the capital is just is an even more a sort of extreme version of that. But it feels like there's a certain continuity as well. So let me turn to, we have 2 questions from a journalist herself, Amy Willens, who I'm sure you know, has long covered Haiti. Amy asks a question specifically about the assassination and the kind of information about the assassination of Jovenel, noting that Martine Moïse, so Jovenel's wife, widow, has asked for the FBI to release all materials pertaining to the assassination. And if you could talk a little bit about her and why other Haitians think that it's important to have answers about the killing and how it happened. And then a second, more forward-looking question, a second part, which is what ideas or suggestions you have, perhaps about how the situation might be improved, solved in some ways, or abated, especially given that the government seems like it's not in a position to offer any direction. So those are 2 big questions, I realize, but
Okay. Thank you very much, and thanks, Amy, for organizing all of this and for bringing me to this beautiful California sunny city. I'm not taking notes, so I don't necessarily remember all the questions.
I can repeat if you want.
Pardon me, please. Yes, yeah. Someone asked what is the goal of the gangs. I realize I did not answer that.
Okay, sure.
I do think it's very difficult to know what is the goal, and I do think as well, whoever will try to say, oh, the gangs in Haiti has a goal, should be careful, because we don't have one gang in Haiti. We have different criminal entities with different interests, with different ties to different groups. Yes, they created this G9 coalition, but it's not as simple right? So it's difficult to know. But what we understand is economy is one side of it. You know, they want economic power. They want the money. And the more territory you control, the more money you can make, right? You can extort people, you can kidnap more folks, you can, you know, control different economic avenues. So that's where I would start there. When it comes to the assassination of the president, what was the question?
So the question was about Martin Moïse's recent request to the FBI to give information about the assassination, and Amy's wondering if what you think about whether it's important or the claim that others think that it's important to have, you know, the truth about that assassination and precisely who was behind it, what happened, what your thoughts are on that request.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an important question, and I don't think it's also an important request. For those who don't know, I'm going to give you the backstory. As I said before, the president of Haiti was killed in the intimacy of his bedroom the 7th of July 2021, and about 40 people were arrested right after that. More than 10, I think it was actually close to half of these folks were Colombians. They came to Haiti. We have different explanations as to why they were there, but they were in the vicinity and in the house of the president when he was assassinated. And since then, two investigations started. One is, you know, ongoing inside of the US because many of the meetings and financial discussions about the killing of Jovenel Moïse took place here in the US and mainly in Florida. At least three individuals were tried, and no, actually, at least three were sentenced to life in prison in the US, and I believe the three others are waiting for their sentencing in connection with this assassination. But observers and people who are taking an interest in these investigations quickly understand that this investigation's main goal seems to be to identify the folks who were in the US and broke US laws, and it's not, you know, an investigation or an initiative to try to determine who killed the Haitian president, who ordered the killing, and why he was killed. Because, you know, we still don't have that answers years later. We have an ongoing investigation in Haiti, but it's widely considered to be a joke. And many Haitians, if you talk to them today, will tell you that they make peace with the idea that if it is for the Haiti investigation, we might never know why the president was killed and who effectively killed him, other than the folks who showed up, you know, at his door the 7th of July for many reasons. Historically, the Haitian justice system we've built right after the revolution was never built to serve the people. And over time, it's collaborated and with the politicians and the economic sector, and it gives you something that is quite frankly ineffective, not respected, and you know, it's very rare for this system to be effective. Let me give you one reason one argument to back this claim. The Committee to Protect Journalists put out a report last year, and it says Israel and Haiti are the best place to be if you want to kill journalists, because you are more likely to go unpunished. Since 2019, 7 journalists were killed in Haiti because of their reporting. One of the most popular journalists of the past decades in Haiti is a man called Jean-Dominique. He was killed in the 2000s, and since we are 25 years later, we still don't know who killed him and why. So it's not far-fetched to think and imagine that the assassination of the president, Jovenel Moïse, might follow this pattern. Impunity is one of the biggest problems of Haiti today. Impunity, blanket impunity of those who abuse the public, of those who stole public funds, of those who engage in high-level criminality. The past president, Michel Martelly, is accused by the US of ties to drug trafficking. He's still living in the US today. He's not charged. Impunity. And you have dozens and dozens of officials of all sorts of people being named, included in reports, in all sorts of things related to crimes, related to gangs, related to all sorts of injustices, not having to face responsibilities for their action. And I do think this is why many people in Haiti understand that, you know, the semblance of justice or the semblance of investigation in the part of the US might be the last hope to really grasp what happened to the Haitian president, Jovenel Moïse. He was never a likable or a popular figure. A week before he was killed in the capital, about 15 people were brutally murdered, including a human rights defender and a journalist. And he oversaw the country in terms of perils. We are talking about high-level corruption, accusations of all sorts, and protests against his presidency. But I do think, you know, most Haitians would like to know what happens to him and why he was killed. And the last thing I would add is many people still have questions as to why I do believe at least 2 of those accused in the assassination of Jovenel Moïse had tied to US institutions, and mainly the DEA, right? People were asking why at least one of these institutions requested, you know, secrecy around the discussions in court. So I do think, you know, when this request is made, it's in the spirit. People want to know, people want to have answers as to, you know, why the Haitian president was killed.
Thank you. For those curious about the Jean-Dominique and Radio Haiti, there is a project at Duke University that has all of the recordings from many years as a journalist. If you're curious, so if you go to Duke Radio Haiti archives, for those of you that I think kind of meant to be partly an homage to the work of many journalists who are very courageous in Haitian history over the years. So I'm glad that you mentioned him. I know so I will put this in your ear, Widlore, to think a little bit more. Probably we'll conclude on this. Amy Willens had asked about possible solutions or ways of addressing the problem. So as you ponder that, I'm going to turn to Robin, who said that she'd like to have a few comments. Just for everyone to know, we have about 15 minutes left, so we'll keep an eye as well on new questions, but we'll end at about 8:15 EST, I guess 5:15 on the West Coast. So, but Robin, I know you had some comments to make.
Thank you. I didn't know about the materials that you collected about Jean-Dominique, but I teach The Agronomist, which is an incredible film about him. And so I'm so glad to know that, and I'll definitely work that into my next syllabus. But I wanted to say that, you know, on the subject of Haitian art, our campus, which houses the Fowler Museum, has done 3 very important exhibits of Haitian art. So we have a very strong relationship to Haitian painting and drapeau, and also and other kinds of work. So we did the Sacred Arts of Haitian Vaudou, which was curated by Don Cosentino. And then we did an extremis about the sculptors of Grand Rue. And then we did the only single female exhibition of a single female artist from Haiti, Merlin Constant. That was a few years ago. So anyway, on the subject of Haitian art, Haitian art has a very strong role on our campus. But I wanted to mention too that there's a very strong, we've been talking about the gangs, we've been talking about the the political bossism and so forth. But I also wanted to say that I've been watching corruption on the island for some time, and I've noticed that during the Martelly regime, there was a very vibrant protest culture as well. Haitians spoke out; they were in the streets as well, and I wanted to take note of that. And I also want to say I've been watching quite carefully the Odebrecht scandal, which is called the Brazilian car wash scandal. It's a very interesting, massive corruption scandal which emanated from Brazil. And I've been interested as a Latin American as to how it's played out politically in different contexts. The Dominican Republic was deeply involved and no heads have rolled. Heads have rolled in certain places and not in others. So could you say a little bit about how the car wash, Odebrecht, which predates the corruption of Martelly, doesn't it?
Well,
You can say a little bit about how that played out in Haiti.
I'm not sure I can address that, but I can address the protest of 2018, and I do think I can link it to Amy's question about how do we solve this. I've seen articles in foreign media explaining how Haitians are hopeless, and how they cannot find solutions, and everything is doom and gloom, and this place is condemned. But my own experience as someone living in Haiti is quite the contrary. In 2018, hundreds of thousands of young people inside of Haiti took to the streets in what is considered to be a generational protest against corruption in Haiti, right? Back in 2006, Haiti signed with Venezuela an accord. Venezuela, in a nutshell, would ship and sell fuel to Haiti at a discounted price, and Haiti would not have to pay, before more than 2 decades. And this money was supposed to be used, the money collected in selling this fuel was supposed to be used for developmental projects and building infrastructures, etc. However, at least the report says more than $2 billion were misused by several administrations. And the Haitian folks were not complacent with that waste. And in 2018, they took to the streets. And I do believe that the legacy of this fight is still alive today in Haiti. When you see how, for instance, this corruption scandal that is concerned these 3 voting members of the presidential council, regardless of what they do, it's not going away. People keep talking about it. People keep speaking about it over the radio. No matter the explanations they come up with, the public is still adamant, asking for answers, asking for in some instances for resignation. So I do think this is another way for people to take responsibility, and understand their own context, etc. When it comes to how do you solve this, I'm always cautious. I'm a reporter. My job is the present and the bloody business of the human experience, in this case in Haiti, on an everyday basis, and the full humanity again of not just the experiences of those I'm reporting on, but also my own experience. And that's the other difference. The story that I'm reporting as a Haitian journalist is not a foreign story. It's also my story. When I'm speaking about people being chased by gangs, I'm also speaking about me. When I'm speaking about folks leaving their places in the middle of the night, I'm speaking about the more than a dozen journalists in my own organization in the past 2 years. We had to relocate because of being violence, right? And I do think as long as Haitians are living inside of Haiti, as long as we have Haitian professionals doing whatever they can and applying the highest level of professional talents to their craft, Haiti still has a chance. As long as we have artists and intellectuals fostering an understanding of this place and creating a path forward, this place will have a future. And lastly, I do think the idea that Haitians will solve the Haiti problem is mature today, based on my own reporting, right? When I talk to people in the streets back in 2010, you could see people, many were hopeful. International folks and the outpouring support would make a difference. But over time, I do think, and this is anecdotal, I know, but this is on my own experience. I do think over time, the idea that if you want to solve the insecurity problem in Haiti, it has to be by Haitians. It has to be Haitian police. It has to be Haitian army. It has to be Haitian experts who knows the context, who knows the country, who study this place, who knows the mentality and the culture, providing answers for the problems of the country, given, I mean, proper assistance. I do think, based on the different discussions I had for my own reporting as a journalist, that most people believe Haitians can take their own destiny and change their own situations.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and maybe a good point to end on as well. That the future is in their hands, but at the same time, the point that you've made many times, which is it's also important in the United States for people to think carefully about their own role in at least standing in the way of those solutions. So. Widlore, thank you so much for all your work, your courage in doing the work, and all the way that you illuminate this reality. And thank you for helping us understand this evening. And we hope the conversations will continue, and that our alliance and support for all this better future for Haiti will continue as well. So